Okay, thanks.
Okay, so welcome to the Planning, Highway and Environment Committee, Tuesday the 9th of February 2021. So first of all, have we got any apologies for absence, Jill?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Helen Page.
Lovely, thank you. And are there any members' interests, any declarations of interest this evening?
No.
No. Thank you. So the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of January, hopefully everybody's had a little look at those.
Yep.
Can I please have a proposer to accept those? Councillor Cornford, thank you, and Councillor Wallen. Everyone in favour? Lovely, thank you very much. So I'm having to flick from one screen to the other. So next on the agenda is chairperson's announcements, and I haven't got any announcements, so we move on to public participation session. And I don't think there's anybody for this, is there, Jill, this time?
No, no request to speak.
Thank you. So 6th on the agenda is the National Transport Survey consultation. This survey includes 6 independent surveys provided by the National Highway and Transport Network. So this was an item that was on the full town council, and 2 members who were not on the Planning, Highways and Environment Committee deferred it to our committee meeting. So yeah, have councillors got any comments to make with regards to this and how we could go about looking at it? So I'm just changing my view so I can see everyone. Oh, brilliant. Jill, you've put it up on the screen already.
So there are 6, like you say, independent surveys, and alphabetically accessibility is the first one.
Lovely. Okay, I can't see everybody now. So just if you just start speaking, then I'll be able to see you. Unfortunately, I can't sort of, if you put your hand up, I can't see you currently because I can just see the screen. So let's have a look at this survey then. So pavements, thinking about the road and transport locally, how satisfied or dissatisfied are you with the following? Please answer. Very satisfied, fairly satisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, fairly dissatisfied, very dissatisfied, doesn't apply, don't know. Okay, so that was the same thing as we go through. So if we think about pavements, are we saying very dissatisfied, fairly satisfied? If somebody just talks, I'll be able to see them. Sorry, I can't.
Yeah, Councillor Wallen did have his hand in the air a moment ago. I don't know if he still wants to speak. Yeah. Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. It's just to say there is a way that you can probably get everyone on the screen. I don't have the facility to do the thumbs up facility on here, so
thank you. Yeah, I just actually found a way of bringing everybody up in the corner, but I still have to scroll up and down slightly to see you.
Well, if you've got room on your screen and you've got the box that's got the views in it, if you can enlarge that box by dragging it either wider or further down or both, you'll find more people fit in it.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Cornford, I know that you've been looking at this. So with regards to the pavements, what did you circle?
I said fairly satisfied.
With the pavements. Okay. So
yeah, I'd support that. The only thing that annoys me sometimes is the number of signs and other obstructions on the pavement, but I would put fairly satisfied as well.
Okay, so we'll go for that if everyone's happy. Yep. So satisfied or dissatisfied with the cycle routes lanes? Well, I think we're very dissatisfied with that because we haven't got any cycle routes or lanes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, very dissatisfied. Local bus services. I think they're pretty good. I'm not too sure what the people think sort of the one bus that goes through Linksfield, but it is very regular. It's at a particular, you know, it's every hour. Councillor Cornford.
Yeah.
Yep, this came up over the big conversation which we had in 2017 or 18, and a lot of local residents are very frustrated by the bus system because it doesn't allow for people who are shopping and carrying shopping who are over 70. There aren't enough bus stops, and the local bus service really isn't satisfactory for an older community at all. They have too far to walk between stops. There are areas, for instance, at the community centre, they could have a bus stop there. It's just, I've put very dissatisfied, but I mean, it's a majority, isn't it? What other people think, but that was one of the things that came out of the big conversation for Westgate-on-Sea.
It's tricky because I know there was another bus service that was put on for sort of up Linksfield Road, but it was hardly ever used. So that's the trick, I think. I don't know on this one. For me, I think the bus services are very good along Canterbury Road, but I think it's then the bus service that goes towards Linksfield really and sort of along Minster Road, but perhaps the new development will help with that. Councillor Comfort.
Yeah.
Sorry, again, also for bus users, they're constantly missing the bus. In fact, I remember you, Councillor Dr. Scott, having buses drive past when you've been waiting at the stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, sorry. I think also we need to look at how useful these services are going to be, or how appropriate they're going to be in future if COVID restrictions still apply for some time. I wonder if we ought not to think as a council about developing more community transport, which is what I wanted to get onto. Thanks.
Councillor Wallin had his hand in the air for a little while. Councillor Dr. Scott.
Sorry, Councillor Wallen.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Yeah, I basically agree with Councillor Cornford. The bus services, they're not that great in certain parts of Westgate. It's a shame there's not an option for something between fairly dissatisfied and very dissatisfied, because very dissatisfied might be a bit too strong, but fairly dissatisfied isn't strong enough. It's somewhere in that, in my view, it's somewhere in that vein, because of certainly the other half of Westgate that has rare buses and, you know, and other issues with our bus service and the routes they take, they miss out large parts of Westgate as well. So, you know,
I mean, I probably would go for fairly dissatisfied, but I don't know. Councillor Cornford, were you very dissatisfied?
I was very dissatisfied because I think you've got to be quite strong if you want to get changes made. And if you're very dissatisfied, that opens it up for the community transport and the demand for responsive transport. That's telling them what they were asking us at the big conversation, which is all part of it, really. This is that what we've got is not fitting the community. And we're very dissatisfied with it. That's what I was.
So very dissatisfied.
Yeah, so everyone, okay.
Okay, very dissatisfied, because then we might get somewhere. Okay, local taxis or minicab services.
Fairly satisfied?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fairly satisfied?
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Pennington.
No, I was just meaning I agree that we should put fairly dissatisfied.
Okay, so on to
Fairly satisfied, sorry.
your one, community transport. Councillor Pennington, you wanted to speak on this?
Yes, I think there may be a role for this that we haven't looked at in Westgate, and I'd be really interested to see some sort of analysis of what we could do in terms of transport. The view we had yesterday of a stronger road network does lend itself to this kind of thing, and I've seen schemes operating very successfully elsewhere where they're specifically to support pensioners and vulnerable groups and so on. So I do think there are ideas that we could look at specifically in relation to Westgate and maybe, you know, adjoining areas like Birchington.
Yeah, that's a good point. So shall we say very dissatisfied then?
Yep.
Yep. And then it opens up a conversation.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
Okay, so demand responsive transport, i.e. bus services using flexible routes timetables. I don't know the answer.
Very dissatisfied. There isn't any of it.
Councillor Wallen.
Sorry, I didn't put my hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Scott. I would probably go along with you, but I don't really know much about it. I'm not familiar with that service. Throughout my life, I'm sure it happens, and you get the odd place where trains stop at stations on demand. But you know, on the whole, those sort of services are very rare, and I've not come across that sort of thing. You know, an on-demand bus service. Not come across it. It might be a great idea, but I've never really come across it, so I can't.
No, nor have I. Councillor Cornford, do you know a bit more about this?
It is another thing that came up in the big conversation, transport. You know, you dial up. It sounded really, really good. And it sounded really good and really doable, especially in our area, but it didn't actually come to anything at the time for whatever reason. I mean, it's had a lot of press elsewhere. They did a trial over in, I think it was Tunbridge Wells somewhere, which is not really the best, you know, but I mean, I would say we don't have any of that, and we're very dissatisfied with the fact that we don't have any of it, because our demographic would suit that. It really would.
Okay, so shall we say very dissatisfied because we haven't got any? Yeah. Okay. Think about the local area. How satisfied or dissatisfied are you with each of these? The provision of pavements where they are needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fairly satisfied, I would put.
Yep.
I can't immediately think of an area where a pavement is required and isn't there. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Councillor Walling, I think, and Councillor Cornford both wanted to speak.
Sorry,
Councillor Walling.
Back to requesting the floor.
Yeah, sorry, I would just go along with Councillor Pennington. Same sort of answer. I don't know of anywhere that really hasn't got a pavement that needs one. Nobody's ever commented on it.
No.
Say that the part of Station Road past Paul's Bar hasn't got one on one side of the road, which can be awkward, but you know, you can just cross the road and use one over there. So it's not.
Yeah, I mean, we're in
one side of the road.
We're in direct communication with them with regards to the need of pavements to the new site when they're needed, but apart from that. Okay, so very satisfied are we going with? Okay.
Yep.
Provision of safe crossing points. Now, I think that the crossing in the high street is, well, all the crossings there are a little bit touch and go, to be honest. St Mildred's Road is a very wide road and people come down there quite quickly, and then crossing from sort of the fish and chip shop across, I think that always gives me a bit of nervousness when I cross there, to be honest, and seeing sort of little or older people crossing there, and if they're quite slow, then sometimes it feels like they're not going to get across in time before somebody flies up there. So Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. Yeah, there are lots of places. I would put very dissatisfied. We spent ages even to get a safe crossing outside the Ursuline College, but in the middle of town, I think it was interesting that when the one-way system was brought in, it seemed to highlight the difficulties that we have. One of them is the lack of visibility because of the railway bridge, but all these things, you know, there are virtually no pedestrian crossings in the right place, in the centre of Westgate. The one that we had to work on to get it to fulfil a reasonable function, but we really need more. And it's terrible the way some people drive down St Mildred's Road. If people have double parked, and people really are in danger if they try and cross the road.
Thank you. Councillor Wallen.
Thank you. As somebody who is disabled and stroke walking, I appreciate this more than many. And crossing St Mildred's can be quite dodgy at times. And what I've got to point out is that the pedestrian crossing they put in almost outside the doctor's surgery is a recipe for disaster, and somebody will die at that crossing in the next few years. It has been planted there by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. It's incredibly dangerous, and loads of people say it's in totally the wrong place. You don't have proper vision of people waiting to cross. It's too close to the junction. It is a nightmare, and it will result in a bad accident, if not death, in the next few years. And lots of other people have said that it is one of the worst crossings I've ever come across. Probably the worst.
Councillor Cornford.
For me, I would have said I was fairly satisfied, because on the survey on road safety, for me, my thing is about educating and making sure that vehicles don't dominate the roads anymore. Within a townscape, it should be really slow driving, and it would be nice to educate people, because both for cyclists and pedestrians, the roads are really dangerous, and they shouldn't be in a built-up area. But because I would have thought it would be much less expensive to educate drivers and reduce speed limits and monitor those than it is to put in lots of zebra crossings and drop curbs and all the rest of it, because we do have quite a few drop curbs, and they have put in more drop curbs. So I'd be a little bit disinclined to put very dissatisfied, because we have had extra drop curbs put in. Highways have
provision of safe crossings. From my point of view, I'm very dissatisfied with safe crossings.
Okay.
I find it roads that I cross, I find not very safe. But the drop curb one is the next point along.
Yep. So what are we? Very dissatisfied with the provision of safe crossing points?
Yeah, from my point of view, I am.
Okay.
Let me see. I need to scroll down. Is everybody happy with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And then drop curbs. Councillor Cornford, you said that we've had a number of those put in.
Yeah, I would say fairly satisfied.
Okay.
Because they are there. They are physically there.
Anton, yeah. All in agreement with that? Fairly satisfied? Good, thank you. Okay, is that the end of that one?
No.
No, there's more.
Oh dear.
Okay, so how satisfied or dissatisfied are you of each of these locally? How easy buses are to get on and off? I'm happy with them. Anybody else uses buses?
Councillor Cornford, I think, was first, and then Councillor Walling.
I think for older people and for disabilities, they're very dissatisfying. Not easy to get on and off.
Councillor Wallen, yeah.
I would completely concur with what Councillor Cornford has said. As somebody who has lived in a wheelchair for a while, I know what things can be like, and yeah, not a case it wouldn't be ideal, it wouldn't be possible to go out to a lot of places. So fairly to very dissatisfied for those in need.
Okay, very dissatisfied. Helpfulness of drivers. So when I've been on buses, usually they do have sometimes a system where they can lower the bus down or put out a slope. And I know that a number of our local drivers are absolutely lovely. Councillor Wallen?
That depends on the bus. Simple as that. Some buses have that facility, I don't know for sure. I haven't been in a wheelchair for many years, but some of the smaller buses probably don't have the same facilities as the larger buses. But I don't know for a fact. But I don't think all of them have those facilities. That said, bus drivers, yeah, no issues with them at all.
Yeah, I'd say very satisfied. I've always seen
Yeah.
like, very nice bus drivers.
Mm.
Is everybody happy with that? Very satisfied with helpfulness of drivers.
Helpful, yes.
Yeah.
Very
Okay. Yeah.
satisfied.
Okay.
Raised curbs at bus stops. Councillor Corford, do you know what this means?
Very dissatisfied. You have to step up. You know, they're not raised. There's
Okay. Yeah, we haven't got any, have we? I don't think.
No.
Councillor Wallen?
Yeah, I would say again, this roughly is the same as the previous one. You know, if your curb is low, then it's difficult to get off with a walking stick, let alone with a wheelchair. So, you know, and sometimes I use a walking stick, and sometimes there is a big stop, and occasionally and it's not just in Westgate, it's all of Thanet. Sometimes I have to walk down backwards because of the height.
Okay. Very dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely, thank you. So frequency of bus services. I think the 8 and 8A are brilliant, but I think we're concerned about the little ones that go to sort of the south side, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So, William, was there something else that you wanted to add?
I was just going to basically say the same as you said, but I thought of it before you did. The other half of The other half of Westgate doesn't have regular bus services, certainly not to the far end of it and things. So it's not bad on the whole. And of course, we've got to remember that some of them go down the Canterbury Road and some come into the town. And you've got the strange bit where the town is for buses, it's a one-way system. So where you might get on in one side of the road, you won't get on in the other direction or get off it in the immediate opposite. And for people who don't know the area, that might take a bit of getting used to. But on the whole, not too bad.
Okay, but I think in order for it to marry up with what we previously said, then the services regularity, was it the regularity of services? Sorry, the question.
Frequency.
I think in order for us to marry up with the previous question where we're saying the services are not good.
In some parts of Westgate, it is frequent. In some parts, it isn't. So net, fairly dissatisfied, I would say.
Councillor Cornford, does that marry up?
That's what I've got. Fairly dissatisfied.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to. There's quite a lot of questions, so I think we're just going to have to go through it and try not to discuss it too much now, because otherwise we're going to be here forever. Information about accessible buses for people with disabilities. I'm not too sure about this. I don't have any knowledge of it. Does anybody else have any knowledge of information about accessible buses? Are there any accessible buses?
Very dissatisfied.
Okay, I think very dissatisfied because we don't, because we've never seen any information about accessible buses. So availability of information to help people plan journeys in advance. Well, the internet for Stagecoach is really good. I've used it and it's really helpful. But that's Stagecoach.
Fairly satisfied.
Yeah, okay.
Fairly.
Is that it?
No.
Question 5. Approximately how often, if at all, do you use each of the following to get about? So, walking. Daily? People do daily walks? Yeah.
Yes.
Daily. Cycling. Oh.
Not applicable.
Cycling.
Not applicable.
Okay.
Never do it.
Me never.
Physically can't.
I don't have a bike.
Councillor Donaldson, how often do you cycle? Are you on mute?
No, he's not. Can you
Oh,
hear us?
was that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you cycle, Councillor Donaldson?
Councillor Donaldson doesn't cycle, I'm afraid. Yeah,
Can I
neither do I.
suggest?
Yeah.
Can I suggest, Councillor Dr. Scott, we put not applicable for all of them, all the rest of them, because I think it's a bit of a personal, and that way we don't influence anything.
Yeah, let's not. Well done, thank you, Jill. Yeah.
Okay.
Not applicable.
So
That's going to be a bit tricky.
that's that park and ride. Oh, okay.
How easy or difficult do you find travelling to the following places by any form of transport? So how easy do you find it travelling to where you work? Is this not going to be applicable, not applicable as well, because it's going to be quite personal again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. And I think that then takes us to the end of this one, because then it's just the information about, you know, what age group are you in? Do you own a car? And then just a section at the end that says general comments. If you have any specific comments you'd like to pass on, please complete. So if there are any specific comments that you wanted added.
Councillor Cornford?
I just wanted to say with this one, the you know, the accessibility, the actual accessibility of getting. I mean, if we think about it, if we did have to use public transport, I would say the overall answer to that would be fairly difficult rather than not applicable, because that backs up everything else that we've said about the availability of transport, public transport. So is it? I mean, I don't know if. I mean, that's just my view. I would answer fairly difficult to all of those, because it backs up what we've just said.
Yeah.
Can I say fairly difficult unless walking? Because I can walk to most of these places.
But it's for the majority, isn't it? It's not everybody can walk that, especially not in an older demographic. Not everyone can walk. They do, you know, it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm not right. That's what I just need to express my opinion there, but we can do what we like.
I mean, the thing is, all of these things are actually served by the main bus route, but it's not served by like Linksfield. Basically, I think, you know, it's sort of Linksfield area that's not served by the bus route, but I could get on a bus and go to all of these places. You know, in general, I think the bus services are really good. So yeah, I'd find it a bit tricky to answer these ones.
Neither easy nor difficult for all of them. Or go back to the Clark's suggestion.
I think it doesn't apply. Just I think it's more for us maybe to go through personally, because we can do these all personally as well, can't we? Now that we've seen it, it'll be very, very quick. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Chair, I just want to make a possible suggestion. We've done that and it took us about 20 minutes, and it's about the overall accessibility, which is a good one for us all to fill in together. Do you think we should do the rest of them individually?
Yeah, sure. If you want to propose that, I second it. Is everybody in favour of that? Yeah? Everybody happy? Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you. Would you be able to stop sharing the screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next on the agenda is the Beaches and Coasts Public Space Protection Order consultation. Jill is going to be sharing this with us.
Okay. So, sorry, did you want me to share the actual consultation survey?
No, I can read it out. I think everybody's
Okay.
put it in front of them.
Okay. That's fine. So Thanet District Council's consulting on 2 areas that will affect residents and visitors, how they use and enjoy the coastline and the foreshores. The first area being consulted on is the introduction of a new PSPO, which is the Public Space Protection Order. This is based on the current bylaws, and the second area focuses on changes being made to the powered watercrafts, PWC, access and use of our coastline, and changes to the water user group. So you see that the information I gave you is divided into sections 1 and 2. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to read that. I won't read everything out for you all. We've got also the Beaches and Coast Public Space Protection Order consultation, which has got some general questions, and then actually moves on to the powered watercraft questions, but it's not too onerous, it's quite straightforward. There was a code of conduct as well that was shared. This is the code of conduct for responsible beach use, which is quite useful for us all to be aware of. Also, there's the draft Public Spaces Protection Order, which is titled Antisocial Behaviour, Crime and Policing Act 2014, Part 4, Section 59, and that's the Thanet Coast and Beach 2020. And it comes into force on the 18th of March 2021, and that's for a period of 3 years. So again, I won't read all that to you. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at that. Okay, thank you.
So if we just go through it quickly then, the consultation is: to what extent do you agree or disagree that our current bylaws should be transferred over to the new Public Spaces Protection Order? Is that right? Public Space Protection Order.
Yeah.
Have we got any comments with regards to that? Councillor Cornford.
I'd say agree.
Yep. Councillor Wallen, are you seconding?
I would just say agree or neutral, no major views.
Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. I read with interest the code of conduct, which I by and large agreed with. There is one glaring mistake in it in relation to fishing and sailcraft, where it says one thing in one place and the reverse in another. But I'll let that pass.
Yeah, maybe pass that on as an email to Jill.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be useful.
Thank you.
Feedback. So if we then propose to say agree, do you have a seconder? Yeah. All in favour? Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
So changes to, okay, so the next question: to what extent do you agree or disagree that no barbecues will be allowed on Joss Bay until after 6 p.m? So this just brings it in line with the other beaches that you're not allowed to have barbecues after 6 p.m. So I think it's quite a sensible thing to do. So I would strongly agree, to be honest.
Yeah.
Would I have a seconder for that? Councillor Pennington?
I think the message that disposable barbecues aren't permitted should be reinforced, because we had this incident where someone stuffed a disposable barbecue into a waste bin and it melted the plastic. And it's too easy now just to buy a disposable barbecue and then leave it lying around.
So was that in the rules that disposable barbecues are not allowed? I think the rules are that you are allowed disposable ones as long as you dispose of it in a sensible way. Did you see that the rules included to not use disposable barbecues?
Yeah. I need I read it on screen. I need to check back. I'll check back tomorrow and let you know. Councillor
Conford, did you see that disposable?
Yes, I did. Yes, it did say disposable. It's in section 3, rules and regulations regarding barbecues and gatherings.
Yeah. Yes. Number point 3, disposable barbecues are not permitted. It does state that.
Thanks, Jill.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we strongly agree that it'd be better if they're all it's all clear that after 6 p.m. you're allowed to have a barbecue, but before that you're not on all beaches.
Yeah.
Strongly agree. Yeah.
Strongly agree. Thank you. So please use the space below if you have any further comments. So in that comment section, Jill, if possible, to reiterate our agreement on the people not being able to use disposable barbecues.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next one, to what extent do you agree or disagree that powered watercrafts, for example jet skis, should only be allowed to launch from ramps run by membership groups or at Ramsgate Harbour?
Yes, agree.
We agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Agree or strongly agree?
Agree.
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 Okay, all in favour of agree? Thank you.
Thank you.
To what extent do you agree or disagree that should a member of the water user group breach of the rules, it will result in their water user group membership being terminated with no refund, and that they also face the same financial penalties any breach of our rules under the PSPO?
Agree.
Agree?
Great.
Yeah, why not?
Agree.
Yep. I think this is probably in response to a number of problems last year. I don't know if anybody saw that video of the quite badly behaved water ski users going round people on floats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so to what extent do you agree or disagree that the Ramsgate Western Undercliff slipway should no longer be used for fishing boats? I have no comment on this because I'm not from that area and I don't know anything about it. Councillor Woolen.
I would agree, neutral, no comment.
Does anybody else know of this area and the issues around it? No. Okay. I think no comment would be better. Is there an option for no comment?
Yeah. Is there no comment available? It only says
Should
neutral.
we just move on? Should we just not answer?
You can do.
Neutral seems like we're like, I think we shouldn't answer that one because we don't know. Councillor Cornford?
Can we not tick neutral? Because we don't really know enough about it, do we? Because we don't live in Ramsgate. We don't know the use that the fishing boats are making of it at the moment. So we can't really make a judgment. So
yeah, that's why I think perhaps we shouldn't answer. We shouldn't answer at all.
Okay, do you want to?
It's not answering an option.
Yeah, it's not
we just
compulsory.
don't.
It is,
We just
okay.
move on.
Okay.
So if you'd like to, in comments, just put not applicable or something.
Yeah.
Or we don't know the area or something like that.
Okay.
If possible, to what extent do you agree or disagree that the Walpole Bay bathing pool should be for bathing only, with no water sports or crafts permitted? Walpole Bay bathing pool. Well, definitely no water sports. Couldn't see a jet ski in there or craft. What?
Yeah.
I don't know what.
It's happened. It's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Completely. It's mad. You know, a bathing pool should be for bathing. Simple as that.
Right. So, would somebody like to suggest an answer for that? Councillor Cornford?
We agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we strongly agree?
Strongly.
Mm.
Yes, strongly.
Strongly.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. If you'd like to make any further comments, please use the space below. Was there any comments that we wanted to make about the increased patrols of the beach, or the fact that they're thinking about sort of increasing the you know, these rules, and you know, looking at helping, you know, the public sort of protection and things? Should we sort of give a positive comment back from that they're thinking about this type of thing? Jill?
Yes, I was going to suggest that you might want to put something in there about enforcement of bylaws, and you know how important that is, even at weekends and evenings, that there are you know, a presence of somebody who is enforcing things. I think that's really important.
So with regards to that, if we say, you know, we are, you know, pleased with this consultation, and would like to encourage the enforcement of these bylaws, especially at evenings and weekends. Was there any other comment that's needed to be made around that? No? So is everybody happy with that comment? Yep.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. So agenda point 8, planning decisions by Thanet District Council. So firstly, 30 Camborne Avenue, installation of replacement shopfront, granted permission.
Sorry, Councillor Scott, there. Number 8 was parking on Sea Road during the summer months.
Ow, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So yes, Councillor Page sadly can't be with us this evening, but she just wanted to have included on the agenda the issue that obviously people are aware of, particularly last year in lockdown periods, and we had a busy summer here. There were lots of camper vans that were parked on Sea Road along quite a majority of it actually. At one point I did count 30 camper vans over one weekend. So I have been in contact with Thanet District Council to explore any opportunities where we could try and address the issue. And I just wanted to report that I have been requested by TDC for details of complaints, number of vehicles and issues experienced, in order that a proposal for overnight parking restrictions can be considered along Sea Road. The issues of camper vans in the summer is going to be examined by an officer at Thanet District Council, and I'll have more updates for members in due course. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Pennington.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I didn't, well, we've been concerned for some time about the heavy use of Sea Road by camper vans. I was told some time ago that there was a pilot scheme in Minnis Bay to try and impose a ban on overnight parking. And I did notice when I read avidly the code of conduct in relation to beaches that it seems to provide the powers for that. I don't know why this wasn't highlighted before, whether TDC aren't so keen on it, but I know that for many residents, firstly, there's the obstruction of their view of the sea from their houses. Secondly, there is sometimes a nuisance caused by people in camper vans. This is actually, as far as I could tell, quite rare, but I do think their very presence for long periods of time is something that we ought to discourage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pennington. Councillor Cornford? You're on mute.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Chair, should we be mindful of the fact that we might encourage meters on the seafront, which would affect tourists generally? I mean, for me, it's the rubbish and the effluent that they tip into, you know, the raw sewage that they put into the bay, because there's no regulation on that.
I think there's a possibility that if we had signage to say no overnight parking, then there's no need for metering along the seafront. It's just if we had a sign to say no overnight staying in camper vans or whatever, then that can be enforced. I don't think the metering needs to be included or thought of along those lines.
No, I'm just putting it out there, because if it's not mentioned, it might be something that we end up with, because otherwise the enforcement of no overnight parking, you have to employ somebody, and from, mind you, I'm just mentioning it, I'm just flagging it up.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. Thank you. Councillor Wallen?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise a point that whilst some camper vans might be inhabited by people who are less environmentally friendly, shall we say, and a lot of them do bring business into the town, and you know, they appreciate Westgate and they come down here from who knows where in the country and stay here for a few days as a mini holiday and use our local shops and pubs and restaurants, whatever. And so that is good net for the whole town. It might be annoying for the person whose house they park in front of, and yeah, very annoying for them, but it is net good on the whole for the area, I would say. So it shouldn't be overly discouraged. As to what the correct way of dealing with it is, I don't know, but having people wanting to come to the area and stay in their camper van for 2 or 3 days, provided they are clean and look after themselves and don't leave rubbish everywhere, that's great. We want to encourage that rather than discourage it.
I think the suggestion that we were putting forward was to have no overnight staying along Sea Road, but encourage camper vans to go to the paid parking area by St Mildred's Bay, so they're paying to stay overnight in there. I think that was the possible option, so that it's not that Westgate doesn't have an area where people can stay in camper vans overnight, but that we don't get the accusation that Sea Road is now a caravanette road.
That car park isn't in Westgate, and that might encourage them to then venture on in the other direction towards Margate. I don't know, but it's a difficult one. But yeah, we shouldn't be trying to discourage people from coming to the town and spending money and enjoying our area.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Yeah, it's a tricky one. So there wasn't a decision, was there? It was just for information?
That's right, yes, information.
Thank you. Are there any more comments with regards to this point? No, okay, thank you. So moving on. So yeah, I read out the 30 Camborne Avenue one. Next one, annex rear of 149 Sea Road. Erection of a dormer window to the front and roof lights to the rear to facilitate conversion of a loft space into habitable rooms, together with conversion of garage into habitable rooms and erection of a replacement attached garage. That was granted permission. The St Mildred's Bay, St Mildred's Garden, change of use from the cafe to a mixed bar and cafe, together with alterations of the height of roof, fenestration of store and existing cafe, alterations of the boundary treatment. This was granted permission. 18 Saxon Road, retrospective application for erection of an outbuilding and decking, that was granted permission, and we were fine with that as well. There was no comment on that. Paul's Bar, application for the erection of external shelter, granted permission. Chester Road, erection of a first floor rear extension with Juliet balcony, together with insertion of roof lights to the side elevation, that was refused permission. So that'd be quite interesting to find out why that was refused, just for our information, because I think we had no comment on that, but I need to look back. Springfield Nursing Home, change of use and conversion of part of existing nursing home into 2-bed flats and 3 houses. That also was refused permission. So I think we had no comment on that. And so that would be interesting to look at, to find out why that was refused. So were there any comments on any of those? Councillor Cornford, you've just muted yourself.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean, the nursing home, that's a real surprise, because we looked at that and it was actually a really good application, we thought. And also the other one, the Chester Road one. So we really, I'm definitely going to look up. Whereabouts on the site, on Thanet District Council site, do we find the outcomes? Right there.
Yes, if you go to
sorry, Jill. Sorry.
If you go to the Thanet District Council Planning portal and look up the actual application reference, it should give you that decision. It should be on the website. If it's quite a recent one, it might not be uploaded yet, in which case I can contact the planning officer and get a copy for you.
Kind of how detailed is that? Rather than just sort of refuse, will it give points as to why it was refused?
It should have a decision notice, because I've just sent members 2 recently, and it gives you the conditions and everything that was attached to the decision.
Thank you. Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Donaldson, you're on mute.
Councillor Donaldson, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I'm particularly surprised about the 7 Chester Road, because I went and actually had a look at that, and it was the extension, and where Chester Road is, behind it is actually the railway line. So where the extension is, it's in the middle of a terrace and it's facing the railway line. So it's most odd. But it'd be interesting to have a look at the Thanet portal. Yeah.
I'm trying to think whether it's in the conservation area, Chester Road. Trying to look. I think it might be. I think it might be conservation area. So it might have been the conservation officer, some design perhaps.
Okay.
Councillor Cornford.
Yes, I was just thinking, because there were so many objections to application 1406.
Yeah.
And yet these other, 1602 and 0706 have not gone through. It's just, it doesn't. It'd be interesting to find out why, definitely.
No more hands up. So, significant previous applications. So there was 2 that's been approved recently. So the first one that I've just read out, the St Mildred's one. What conditions have been placed on that? And what's the implications, I think, for the community? I think that's what sort of we really need to discuss now, especially seeing as we didn't approve this application. We were very concerned about it. Did we see that the conditions were that they had to close at the same time as Millie's?
Yes.
Thank you, Jill. Have you been able to have a look at that?
So I didn't have a look at it in detail, but I do know that it's the same time. But from what I understand is that Millie's Bar choose to close earlier usually than what they're permitted. So I don't think it's the case of they have the different times. I think it is the case that Millie's usually don't close as late as they can do. They choose to close a little bit earlier, is what I've given to understand.
Thank you. I think one of the things that was of concern was that at Millie's Bar, people had to come inside and the doors had to be closed at 9 o'clock, I think it was a condition for Millie's Bar. And so we're hoping that that's a similar condition for this application. Were there any comments on it? Councillor Cornford.
Yes, there are a lot of conditions on this. There's 10 actually. and they mostly rely on the local plan policy QD 03 and SE 08, which are about, SE 08 is about light, and QD 03 is about the area, the environment. And there's a lot to keep an eye on here, a lot. And also, I noticed in that beach code of conduct, number 8, other actions which have a detrimental impact on the quality of life of others in the locality. The drinking the alcohol in the public place. I mean, that could come into it. But there are, yes, there are a lot of things to watch out for on this one, which I'm sure the residents are on. They're on too.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Councillor Wallam.
Yeah, I had a quick read through it, and it's not great, but there are some positive-ish bits on it, like live music or music played outside the building's not allowed. So it's not as bad as they wanted it to be for local residents, but it's not as ideal as we wanted.
Thank you. Councillor Pennington, did you have your hand up previously?
You're on mute, Councillor Pennington.
Just to come in on the question of opening hours, it brought it back from 1 o'clock, which I think had been requested, to 11 o'clock at night, and to clear the open terrace at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Now, if they stick to that, that's much more reasonable in my view.
Okay, thank you. I think it is an extension on what Millie's have, and I would imagine that Millie's might then go for a change in their allowed access to the outside, because I know that at 9 o'clock there was sort of some complaining for people having to then go inside, especially in the summer months when it was still very nice outside and people didn't really want to be inside with the doors closed. So Millie's might then try and follow suit to 10 o'clock. Councillor Comfort.
It says the use of the external courtyard hereby approved shall not be used other than between the hours of 9 and 2100, Monday to Sunday.
Oh, okay. There you go. So it has been followed by, okay, so it's married up with Millie's Bar. Brilliant. Are there any further comments on this? No. So the next one that's been approved recently is the Church St. Peter's Presbytery Church. And so I asked Jill if she could contact the planning officer to ask what happened after what I thought they'd actually rejected the planning application, but it wasn't rejection, it was a request for the planning officer to work with the developer to look at some negotiation around, especially around the tree side of things. So I think there were sort of 8 or 9 trees, and we were quite concerned about the home oaks in particular being cut down. And so I had a look through, and the planning officers obviously worked closely with the developer, and the new tree survey and report states that only 4 trees will then come down, none of which are home oaks, apart from one diseased home oak. So it was actually diseased anyway. So the other 3 are a small pine, which we agreed could come down anyway, because they couldn't really do much without taking that down. Then a rowan tree and an apple tree, which are small trees, and then this diseased home oak. So there's 4 trees that are being proposed to come down. 8 trees will be replaced. So 2 for 1, which looks good. The only concern is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 home oaks which are in the area of the parking out the back, and they've agreed that they won't use any hand tools to be able to place the car parking around these trees, because the car parking will be in the root zone. So what they've stated is that they will raise the canopy of these trees by 6 meters, and then place the car parking kind of underneath these trees. So these are the only ones that, I think these are the ones that were proposed to be cut down, but now there's this negotiation. So we just need to be careful that, you know, during this works, the root of these trees won't actually be damaged, and therefore the trees are then forced to be cut down because they're then damaged. So I would like, now that it's been agreed, that those 4 trees obviously are going to be taken down, but then there's an area TPO placed out of the back, and I think that was proposed by the tree officer, so that then actually all of these trees then have a tree protection order on them, and so therefore if there's damage to them, then you know, something will then need to happen to make sure that you know, that they're saved, really, preferably, or if they do end up coming down, you know, there's an investigation as to why they ended up coming down. So, but overall, it seems to be that we asked for a negotiation and it happened, and the arborist suggested some very good ideas of how to, you know, mitigate this circumstance and find a good middle ground, which was excellent. Are there any comments from councillors around this? Councillor Pennington?
No, I think it's excuse me, it's a big step forward. Thank you for it's a good lesson in how to find practical ways of achieving our objectives in relation to the trees, other than you know, sort of the cut them down or not cut them down. I mean, I was really impressed with what the tree expert said, and I'm glad that it's been taken on board. Thank you.
Councillor Cornford?
Yeah, ditto. Ditto. Same.
Brilliant. So perhaps we can possibly write to the tree officer to ask if a area TPO is being put on that site, as he recommended.
Yeah.
And perhaps he can then, you know, reply to us and let us know how that goes forward, because I'm not totally sure exactly the steps of it. Is that okay, Jill?
Yes, I'll put that as an action.
Thank you. Okay, so next on the list is the appeal for 101C Road. Town clerk to share the details of the notification from the planning inspectorate via TDC in relation to an appeal lodged for the decision on 101C Road.
Yes, thank you. As I expect you're all familiar now with the appeal process, we don't get the opportunity to make any further comments. The planning inspectorate has given the notification via Thanet District Council that I presume the owner, in respect of the erection of the first floor, second floor and roof extension, 2-storey side extension, first and second floor front balcony, following removal of existing first floor and roof, together with associated landscaping works. So they've obviously lodged an appeal, which was received by the local planning authority on the 20th of November. Any comments we've made will be considered by the planning inspectorate, who decides the appeal. And we can request a copy of the decision, and hopefully that should be shared with us anyway. And they aim to decide the appeal within 8 weeks of the start date, which is the 12th of January 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any councillors got any comments in regards to this? Councillor Pennington?
Just to say that I don't think I was on the committee when the original proposal went through. I did go down and have a look at it, and I can see what the debate is about. So we'll just have to wait for the outcome. But as Jill rightly points out, we don't have the right to make any further comments. So thank you.
Councillor Cornford, did you have your hand up?
No, I didn't. Thank you, Chair. No.
Okay, well, we shall wait and see with bated breath.
Yeah.
So the planning applications for this evening: Westgate-on-Sea Cricket Club, St Mildred's Road, Westgate-on-Sea, installation of a 20-metre high cypress tree monopole supporting 6 antenna apertures and 2 600mm dishes, installation of 10 equipment housing cabinets, ancillary development thereto. So, Councillor Wallam.
Yeah, well, that's basically 5G mobile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which some people think if it goes up, then everyone will be fried to a crisp in no time at all. Other people don't think it's quite that bad. So, you know, how bad or dangerous is 5G?
Thank you, Councillor Wallam. Councillor Cornford.
Well, apparently, this type of mobile technology, if you go out in the sun, you get greater amounts of electromagnetic radiation than you do from a 5G cell tower.
Oh,
And presumably, the cricket ground will get rent from them. So that will boost their funds, which is why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But you get radiation from electric blankets. Small amount.
thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay, well, I mean, proposer for this, Councillor Cornford.
Yep.
Councillor Cornford, no comment?
I propose, sorry, I beg your pardon. I propose we make no comment on this.
Mm-hmm.
There haven't been any public objections either.
Councillor Pennington, did you have your hand up?
Just a second. Second the proposal that we make no comment.
Okay, brilliant. All in favour of no comment? Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
So second one, AJ's Hair Salon, 27 Station Road, erection of a 2-storey dwelling following demolition of an existing single-storey building. Okay, so this is Station Road along a high street. Councillor Cornford.
Yep, this is already densely developed at Station Road with 4-storey buildings. A lot of the properties have been extended. It's proposed to demolish an unsightly modern block, flat roof, red brick, and at the rear of the original 1871 build, and to replace with a 2-storey residential mews building of the same scale. The heritage statement is very positive. It says it will be an improvement to the conservation area, because that area was part of the extended conservation area in 2006. It says the windows are located to avoid overlooking. There are skylights in the roof, and the area, as I said, is already densely developed, but they felt that it would enhance the area. And when you look on Google Maps, number 27 actually currently looks, not as, a little bit dilapidated.
So was that a report from the TDC heritage?
It just said heritage statement, so I assume it must be.
Brilliant.
But there were no public objections either.
Lovely. Councillor Wallam.
Yeah, just to say that I also read the heritage report, which approved of it. It's a heritage area or conservation area, but if the heritage people or the report says it should be done to get rid of the unsightly thing that's there, then I'll fully go along with it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Councillor Pennington, you looked at this, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, I didn't have as much time as I'd hoped to look at it, but yeah, I'd go along with the comments that have been made, and somewhat to my surprise, they were quite positive, and yeah, I think we can be comfortable with what's proposed. Thank you.
Brilliant. I think because it's in a conservation area, we can always trust the conservation planning officer to make sure that the design, if it's not right, they won't allow that to go through. Fingers crossed. So, Councillor Donaldson, did you have any comments to make?
Yes, sorry, my internet keeps going in and out, but yes, it seems like a good, yes, no comments on that.
Okay, lovely. So, Councillor Cornford, you were going to propose no comment, were you, for that?
I was going to support. I was going to propose that we support the application.
Yep. Councillor Walling seconding you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
in favour?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So, our next meeting is Tuesday, the 9th of March. So that ends our meeting at 20 to 8. So lovely. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming along. Thank you, Jill.
Okay.
Thank you, Chloe, for attending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Okay,
very
well done.
much.
See you soon. Take care.